live.
We're live.
Is this it?
We're live in the back room of a barber shop.
This is a wild place.
It's pretty cool.
I'm liking the eclectic vibe.
Yeah. So a wee bit of background just on where we are. We're in a place called the Old School. It's a barber shop. This is his 2-year anniversary of getting the shop. So Stuart's an interesting guy. He had a dream. And he went to Holland and trained to be a barber in the classic old school haircuts, like for the 1950s, that sort of thing. And he had a dream of opening his own barber shop one day.
And did he?
Well, he trims my beard.
Should we put this in the credits?
Aye, we'll give him a shout out. You know, the Old School at Barber of the Clan on Instagram. But he ended up opening a wee barber shop in his garage. He transformed his garage into a barber shop, panelled all the walls, had the chair, the lights and everything. But he wanted a shop, and 2 years ago he moved in here.
But what was his dream?
To have an old school barber shop.
So that was what he...
We should maybe have him on as a guest at some point.
How do you realise your dreams?
Exactly, Stuart's an interesting guy.
I'm glad he dreamt that and not sort of like, I don't know.
Something dodgy.
Something horrible.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Right, okay. Well, why don't... I thought it might be interesting to put it in the context of how we met.
Aye, definitely.
Because I thought our conversation kind of spontaneously developed from that, didn't it? So you did this really, I would call it authentic. We talked a lot about authentic when we first met. You did this really authentic video, which I thought was very cool, and I reached out to you to say reached out, and we had a chat about what we were doing. And so what was the question? Go on.
Introduce ourselves, but the context of how we met.
Yeah, so the context of how we met. So yeah. So so when we met, we explained a little bit about background. So to recover that a little bit then, so, and I was actually just explaining, so my interest was in high performance really. I got into psychology when I was 11, 12. I wanted to be a superhero. I got into the whole idea of how to improve yourself, and when you want to be a superhero when you're 11, the fast way to do that is to get into martial arts. So I took up martial arts and wanted to be a full-time martial art instructor, and then that didn't quite work out. And I was explaining a second ago, I studied engineering and learned that I didn't want to be an engineer, but eventually I developed my interest in psychology. So now I apply psychology in all areas of high performance, particularly in organisational change, organisational learning. I work with leaders, I work with managers. Typically, people get promoted into management because they're not, they're great at what they do. They're great at being an accountant or an engineer or an IT, but maybe they're not great with people. So I help them think differently, and I help manage and engage their people. I feel like I'm talking a little bit myself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's kind of how we met was I'd made this video and I put it on Instagram. Not Instagram, well, I did put it on Instagram, but it was more for LinkedIn. And the idea being was I was going to talk quite openly and honestly about where I was right now in terms of business, and it'd come off the back of being one of the speakers at a Glasgow Chamber of Commerce event, Made in Glasgow, where they invite, I think it was 8 speakers to come and talk about themselves and their journey with their business over the course of 10 minutes. But you wanted to pitch your business, it wasn't about that, it was to be authentic or real. And I'm thinking, aye, right, nobody's going to do that. Everybody's going to be, super successful, and we've grown 300% in the last year, all that sort of stuff. And that's not the case for me. I lost my biggest client this year, so my business was slashed like 70% this year. So I was a wee bit reluctant to do it.
Were you staring into the abyss?
A wee bit, still kind of am, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to do stuff like this and actually be creative and feel productive during the day. But I thought, right, okay, I'll just go and I'll just be completely honest about my story and where I'm at and how I ended up being where I currently am. And I decided to swear in it as well, because that's quite authentic. I swear a lot in real life. I do. So
they say that people that swear have got higher IQs, yes, more creative.
Yeah, better emotional intelligence, I would imagine as well.
Yeah.
But basically,
great livers, great.
Everything across the board. Not so good with the hair and that, but that's another story again. But basically, I kind of opened up saying my name's Mark Hunter and I fucking hate talking about myself. And it kind of set the tone for my talk, and it was quite interesting watching the audience, because I wasn't dressed all corporate. I don't dress all corporate. but it's just a Glasgow guy talking like a Glasgow guy for 10 minutes, and being actually quite honest about where he is with business. So anyway, off the back of that, I thought, right, it was the following Tuesday, and I was feeling a little bit kind of shit about where business was, and it was that kind of, what do I do here? Do I continue down the road of trying to rebuild my business, or do I just bin it and go and get a job in Tesco, which is dead, not to sound disrespectful, people work in Tesco, but it's a lot easier than running your own business, because at the end of the month, wages are in the bank, you need holiday pay, you get holiday pay, assuming you're not in a 0 hour contract. So I made that video.
It's always a stretch if you don't know what you don't know, if you don't know where your next bit of business is going to come from. It's always a stretch, isn't it?
So I made the video, put it on LinkedIn, and it was part, this is how we kind of got talking about how we've ended up here today. It was kind of part social experiment, a wee bit social engineering. Like, I thought, let's see what happens if I make a bit of content that isn't like the typical content you would see on a business social network, as in it's a guy going, you know what, things are a bit shit and I don't really know whether I want to continue having my own business. And it's had over 2,400 views. You and I didn't know each other before it. I don't know how you came to see it.
Yeah,
you're mad stalker.
Yeah, I know. I've been spending much more time on LinkedIn these days trying to figure out, I guess it's a journey, isn't it? A journey. I've been spending a lot more time on LinkedIn and starting to follow different people that I thought might have an idea or might do things differently. My whole business is about, it's called Think Distinct. It's about thinking differently about things, but not just differences for different sakes, but differences that make a difference. When I saw your video, it stood out. I thought, I like this as it's fresh, it's different, and you see other people projecting their brand, but their brand's like an additional thing. It's like a veneer somehow, and it's an interesting thing. Like, I've been experimenting with, how would I come across in video? How would I come across if I project myself in social media? It's this whole new landscape, social media. How do we project ourselves? But you see so many people who are false, I guess. So the thing that stood out about your video was how authentic it was, to say that word again. So I wanted to reach out to you, I wanted to meet you, and then when we had a chat, we started talking about this kind of strange entrepreneurial life that we lead, and on the one hand we want to be creative and express ourselves, but on the other hand we don't want to be false. We want to go and meet people and network and get business, but on the other hand, can I do that and still be natural? So I thought that was a great basis for taking a conversation further and thinking, okay, well, our two interests, whether it's kind of social media and kind of entrepreneur life and my interest in psychology, they seem to blend in our conversation. So it was really...
It was a great chat, wasn't it? So it was last Wednesday or Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And here we are.
Did we solve all the world's problems?
Not really, no, but I don't think that was what it was about, because who can? But I enjoyed the chat. It was really, really great to meet you, because, and again, you came across as authentic and honest as well, so I didn't get all the kind of hiding behind, well, I'm Andy and I do this, and it was like we kind of got that out of the way really, really quickly, and then started the real chat. And I brought up the subject of podcasting because that's how I get started in the new and then digital media world back in 2005. I was a podcaster, just for fun, part-time, a hobby. Eventually it became a job. And then I think the light bulb went over both our heads. Why don't we start a podcast where we keep a bit of chat going, explore different topics as real guys without trying to present this sort of pristine veneer, as you said a minute ago?
Something I think, what I find in our conversation is we had so many things in common. One of the things I think we've got in common is that you turned, it sounds like a terrible cliche, but you turned your passion into something you do for a living. Yeah. You were doing podcasting for fun and just for interest, and somehow that transformed into a career. And the same happened with me. I was interested in like psychology and how you develop yourself, and I didn't really know what the application of that was. Originally, as I said earlier, I thought it was about martial arts, and eventually I realised that businesses were interested in that. So really I've just pursued what I'm really into, and that's developed into this kind of crazy career that I find myself in.
You know that saying, and I'm sure it's been attributed to many people, probably erroneously, but if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but you know that kind of idea that when you get up in the morning, the work that you're doing is something you love doing, you're passionate about, so therefore it doesn't feel like work. Is that how you feel?
I think it's so important that it shouldn't feel like work in that way. I think you need to love it. If you're going to work for yourself, I'm going to say an entrepreneur. If you're going to work for yourself, let's call it that to start off with. We'll talk about entrepreneurs later, I'm sure, in some other podcasts, right? But I think if you're going to work for yourself, it's tough. So part of being resilient is you need to love what you're doing. You need to, like, if you're staying into the bush, you don't know where your next client comes from. You need to understand why you're doing it. You need to understand what's fun about it. If it's mostly fun, if you're mostly engaged in it, then occasionally if you have off days, or if it's not going well, or if you lose a client, you'll always bounce back from that.
Yep.
I think there's another side to it. There's a flip side to it.
Okay.
So I got really into psychology. I learned about coaching, learned about leadership development. You know, I can be indulgent in that stuff. I can be a geek when it comes to that stuff.
So sorry to interrupt, if you're spending hours researching something, it doesn't feel like you're doing a job, you're just like, this is great.
Well, it's fab.
Psychology porn.
Psychology porn, exactly. I couldn't put it better. But I think I bought into the myth that if you just love what you do, you know, if you build it, they'll come, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I bought into this idea, well, I know what my why is, you know, I know what my purpose. And you know, I thought it would be enough that if I just like really lean into that stuff, really learn that stuff, then the business will come. I think that's only true to a certain extent. You know, I think, and it's true for the people that work with you, you can be really great at the thing that you love and the thing that you're into, but to develop your career, whether you're going to develop it in an organisational life or you're going to set up your own business, you need to learn how to make it work for you. So those other business skills are so-called entrepreneurial skills, like how to find clients, how to position yourself, how to market yourself, how to make your business distinct from other types of businesses out there. That's all in the mix. It's not enough to be like really into psychology.
Yeah, and hope that that'll pay the bills.
It can work. Like if you're really into, like our friend here, you know, being really into cool designer haircuts or, you know, funky music, whatever, by itself, that'll give you a big bit of passion. It's maybe the big bang of your business, but to keep your business sustainable, I think you need to understand how business works.
Yeah. It's funny because for years I did training for Business Gateway. So the training would be on, this was at the early days of social networks, so the training would be on how to use Twitter for your business, how to use Facebook for your business. It's all kind of low-hanging fruit stuff, it's particularly nowadays because it's much more nuanced than it was 10 years ago. But it was always interesting when people would go around the room and they would introduce themselves and it would be clear, and you would often get the same story. I get made redundant, so I want to start a business doing X, and it's usually the X is the thing that they love. So maybe they've got a hobby of baking cupcakes. They love baking cupcakes. Right, I'm going to start a cupcake baking business, which is a great idea. But then they would go along to Business Gateway workshops, so they need to learn how to write a business plan, and they would need to, and the social media workshops would probably come a little bit later in the journey of starting their business. But you would kind of see, like, geez, I didn't know how to write a business plan. I didn't know I needed to know this, that, and the next thing. Yeah. How to do the books, how to submit tax returns, and you can see.
I just love cupcakes.
I just want to make cupcakes and sell them. And the sort of the entrepreneurial spark, which I think is an organisation, isn't it? Yeah. But the entrepreneurial spark in their eyes, and absolutely not. But you would see that spark starting to go out a wee bit because they're recognising, Jesus, actually there's way more than just I'm passionate and good at doing something.
Well, again, the temptation I could get really psychological about that, but there's loads of research that shows people who love what they do, they call it, like, it's an intrinsic reward, they call it. Psychologists, They call it an intrinsic reward. But if you start paying people to do what they love, it starts to dilute their motivation a little bit. So you hear that all the time. My brother's an amazing artist, but when he starts to think about it commercially, you know, it starts to kind of monkey around with these creative flair.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny because that's actually something that I've noticed with myself. So I've been out to pitch for a couple of wee jobs and bits and pieces of client work over the last few months, and I've suddenly kind of lost my confidence when it comes to knowing how to price. I used to have a very, very healthy day rate, and I had clients down south that you could charge a very healthy day rate, but you can't really do that locally in a small town like this, for example. You can't charge London day rates up here, and I've got to the point where I'm like, I'll just do it for free. That's obviously I'm not going to do that, but I'm kind of like, because I want to do the work. If you know, the days where I get a wee bit fed up that I don't have the level of work that I once had, they're dispelled if I go up and do something, make something. So I'll make a video for LinkedIn, or I'll write a blog post, or this barbershop's one of my new clients, so I'm helping Stuart, you know, get the exposure online. So I'll come down, I'll do some stuff, take some photographs. And those days are brilliant because I've created something, I've done something, but there's not a huge monetary value attached to it. My point being, I'm kind of choking a bit when it comes to, you know, a new client wants me to do this, but how much is it going to cost? And I'm like, I don't really know how much to charge anymore.
Do you know, I think we should do like a whole episode just on that issue, because there must be
pricing
on pricing, and you know, that there's the kind of, I mean, you'll know that when you price yourself, it's part of your brand. I think when you value something, it's part of your brand. If you say, like, do you say, are you an EasyJet or you're British Airways? The pricing is part of the branding.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so many cliches about this. You know, your value is what people are willing to pay, kind of thing. There's all those kind of aspects to it. I think there's also the jitters that people get, like you're describing. On the one hand, you know, this is valuable, but you know, I love it. It still feels like a hobby. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe
absolutely.
It doesn't feel good to value it this way. Exchange of value is an interesting thing as well. Like sometimes I'll do work for folk that if there's a huge learning out of it for me, I'll do that, or if it's for social good, I'll sometimes do it that way. So the value exchange is quite an interesting feature as well. But I know for a fact that, like, if I, you know, sometimes I'll maybe try and run an event, and I want to make the entry to it really easy for people, because I want to introduce myself to new types of people and get people interested in an idea. But if you make it too easy, then people don't value it.
No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? So then you've completely devalued your presence in the market, which is the complete counterintuitive thing that entrepreneurialism is meant to be. You're meant to build up your perceived value in the market.
Yeah, and I think also, like, that can feed back on itself. Like you say, it's like if you start to feed back on yourself, you start to wonder about your own value. But our own biggest critics, you know, we could do a whole episode just on that, how we kind of undermine ourselves, or how we can be our own best cheerleaders. I think. Do you think
that when you're saying undermine ourselves, I automatically think self-sabotage. Do you think that's an inherently Scottish trait? Self-sabotage.
Right. Okay. Can of worms that. So I think there's a couple of things about this. I think, first of all, I think there are cultural things, isn't there, about, and we often talk about West of Scotland kind of thing. We don't like to, you know, if someone gets too big for themselves or whatever, culturally that stands out, and we question that. I think that probably goes back to Protestant work ethic, which was a big part of developing a lot of...
So it's the kind of Presbyterian mindset?
I think so. What was your...
No, just that whole self-sabotage. Because I know I've caught myself. You know, you get through it, not everybody does it, I suppose, but I find that as I'm getting older and becoming more self-aware, I'm trying to be more self-aware, and I managed to catch myself a few times over the years, my finger hovering above the self-destruct button, you know, like, I'm going to press it. No, I don't. So I think that's something I know is in me, that propensity to self-sabotage, and I could take it back to making that video. You know, I think if I'd decided I'm going to bin my hard work over 10 to 14 years and just quit and just go and work for a corporation, that would be the ultimate self-sabotage, rather than struggling through a few hard months, tightening the belt, learning new skills, learning how to market yourself again, podcasts like this, for example. That's not the self-sabotage. That's not hitting the self-destruct button.
Well, a lot of self-sabotage, we're actually trying to look after ourselves. We're trying to keep ourselves safe. This is a kind of weird thing about this. So we're trying to conserve our okayness. And if you're going to set up your own business, be an entrepreneur, you know, it's really risky. You're stretching yourself beyond what you would maybe normally do. It's super uncomfortable, you know, to try something new, maybe super uncomfortable. So we're always going to try and conserve what's safe. The difficulty with that is things that have kept you safe historically might not continue to keep yourself safe. So habits that you've developed to make yourself look okay, or like to be quiet in a crowd, for example, might not work in an entrepreneurial environment. But I do believe the liberation of that, the way to develop yourself is to appreciate that all these kind of things that we do that seem to get in our way, that they're designed to look after us. So once we figure that out, we can think, okay, well, that's designed to look after us. So what's a better way to look after me? Like if I'm not good, like we were talking about networking when we met last time, you know, if you're not comfortable networking, you might look after yourself by going along to a networking event and not saying much. So that's designed to look after yourself, but that's not looking after you in the long term.
No, because that is playing into self-sabotage. So if the purpose of a networking event is to get your name out there, get yourself known, and you purposefully hold back from doing that, down the road, that form of sabotage is going to manifest itself, and people are like, don't remember meeting you, mate. I was at that networking event, did we talk? No, we didn't talk. I was standing over in the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and then like we were saying when we met, it's like everybody else at the networking event feels the same thing. You know, they're all trying to look after themselves. So again, we could do a whole...
We need to start making a list of
I know, that's what
cover.
I'm kind of doing that in my mind. I'm thinking, right, since this is our introductory session, it's like, like what are the different ones we could pick up? But it's like we mentioned it before, one of the tactics then to get better at networking is if people are trying to look after themselves, if you start looking after people, if you go to a networking event and you start looking after people.
I think we'll save that wee gem for that episode when we talk about that, but that blew my mind, and I was telling Cameron about it as well, that whole thing you told me about how to deal with the whole, I don't feel too good getting this networking event and flipping the script. I was like, that's a really good point. So I think we'll save that. We will do an episode
so it's
on
a good
networking.
example of a small difference that makes a difference. It's like
huge difference.
So if I think about this a little bit differently, how it can sort of start to play out in your behaviour. Yeah,
brilliant. So according to the count on this, we are about 23 minutes in. So we'll start to wind this down. I think what we need to finish off on is why we're doing a podcast.
What's our why?
Exactly. So we met, we had a chat. We had, you know, it was a lot in common. We both got daughters that are almost the same age with the same name, which kind of blew my mind, you know. I was telling him, I referred to my oldest son a couple of times. He's standing behind the cameras. I told him about that. His reaction was a lot, and I think, you know, we went through some life changes at exactly the same year. We're roughly the same age, and our businesses are kind of quite complementary. So the purpose of this podcast, in my opinion, is we're going to call it, what did we call it? The social experiment.
Social experiment. I think that's I think so. We kicked around a couple of ideas. I think social experiment, I think it's a cool way of describing it, because we might use this to start a conversation with our markets, with our clients, and we want to learn as well. I think we were talking about maybe getting other people to join us in the conversation. I think that'd be a great way to do it.
Excuse me.
So the social part's really important, but you know, like I know that, you know, this is my first way of doing it this way, podcasting, so that's an experiment for me, but a lot of these things you have to try. So it's, you know, an experiment. Try something, you know, some things will work, some things won't. It's a great way to learn.
So from a production point of view, I'll just explain to those listening and watching what we're going to do. So we'll release the episode in its entirety as an audio podcast. So that'll be available on all of the normal places, so Spotify, iTunes, etc. The video, if people want to watch us, will be on YouTube. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut up, we're going to do the Joe Rogan thing. So the Joe Rogan podcast is typically clipped into little sections for people that can't sit and listen to 4 hours. You know, a classic Joe Rogan episode's
We get
between
my
2 and
best
3
sound
hours.
bites.
We'll get the best sound bites, so we'll snip them up. They'll be released onto, I'm going to release them onto my LinkedIn. I hope you'll do the same. My business's Facebook page and yours as well. So that means each of us will get a bit of exposure to our respective networks. And what we really need people to do is we think this is going to be a lot of fun, because the whole idea is we're going to just be authentic and chatting with each other, sharing our ideas on things. We will have guests on, but what we really need people to do is to subscribe, but also to tell everybody else. That's how it works. Get the word of mouth going, for people to tell their friends, their colleagues, to listen to the Social Experiment podcast.
Social Experiment, and if you want to be part of the experiment, maybe
Absolutely.
you can. I mean, I think what I've tried to do for this first one was really start to like cover the kind of breadth of things that we were interested in. Like maybe it was the posh coffee we had when we last met, but we covered a breadth of different ideas, like entrepreneurial, personal.
Yep.
And I think we're in a kind of pinch point, and like society-wise, we're in this kind of pinch point. People are like often deciding like, what's my next move?
Yeah.
Like, where do I get my inspiration?
Yeah.
You know, we live in it. We talked about like fake news. Like, should I really go that way, or should I take a different kind of advice? So I'm really interested in testing ideas. I'm really interested in like the accepted wisdom. Is it, you know, should we really take advice at face value?
Yep.
So I'd really like to invite people to join in with a conversation like that. Like, if you've heard advice that seemed like a really good bit of advice, I'd really love to kick the tires on that.
Absolutely. So get folk to comment on these posts, whether it's the snippets, whether it's the full length of the episode. Just comment on whichever social network you've seen it. Stuff that you'd like us to talk about. If you've seen something you think, I wonder what the guys think of that. Actually sounds like we're megastars or something. I'm really not. But if folk that know us have seen something and you think, I wonder what Andy or Mark think of that, leave a comment. We will check it. We'll check our respective social networks.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll get you on.
Absolutely. So I can think of a guest already who, I won't name her on this, but she's local, and she used to be one of the managers at Cadbury down south, and she would commute.
Yeah.
So she lives up here and she would commute down south.
Right.
She was one of the managers at Cadbury, managed a team. I'm sure it was 40 or 50 people she managed, but she eventually quit it to get the work-life balance, and now she's out trying to inspire people with their own businesses, etc. I'd love to have her on. I think she'd be really interesting.
I mean, one of the things we talked about as well was getting out and taking some of our ideas to like networking events. Yep. So
you're going to coach me on networking?
Yeah, we're going to do some networking. Why don't we'll go along to some events, and if you see us at an event,
yes,
because the way I see this is, it's not just because it's a social experiment, right?
Yep.
It's not just what we're doing in front of these cameras.
Definitely
with these mics. I would love to take some of these ideas out and talk to people live about it.
Yep.
You know, it's not so much sticking a mic in their face, but maybe you'll see us at an event and come and say, that was an interesting idea.
Yeah.
You know, and
absolutely. And if you hear us and you think that they're talking a lot of, honestly, rattling on, drinking their coffee, rattling a lot of nonsense, tell us that as well. Feedback, whether it's online or face to face, is appreciated. So should we wrap up the pilot? I think we just call this the pilot, the Social Experiment podcast. The pilot, any TV show, the pilot's usually a bit shit. I think this was all right though.
It was okay. It's like
your first time.
It's my first time. It's
my
first time. Yeah.
That was the pilot of the Social Media Experiment. I'm Mark.
I'm Andy.
And we'll be back again soon. We're going to talk about networking.
We're going to pick up networking. So we had this idea that rather than this being like a two-dimensional social media thing that you see on your phone or whatever, we might partly come out and see you at a networking event. So come and talk to us, come in and ask us a question, share your philosophy, we'll check it out, we'll discuss it. If you hear something that we say that sounds mince, come and challenge us on it. We're really interested in taking ideas and kicking the tires on it. So we want to involve you in it as well. So if this is a social experiment, we want you to be in on it.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot for watching and listening, folks. We'll be back again soon.
Thank you.